Hello, it's me, Benjamin Wilfred Brown, born May 1st, 1989, as far as I know. Today is July 1st, 2023. I'm here in Montreal, Canada, and I've been here for about 2 years. I was essentially chased here by the North American government. My original intention was to go to Mexico and then maybe to make my way to Israel. I attempted to fly to Israel without a visa and they wouldn't let me on the flight. I'm here essentially claiming asylum status because I'm being harassed by the North American government and maybe some sort of global military institution. My life, I am now realizing that I've spent in nothing short of ignorance as to who I am, where I come from, and what is the true nature of the people around me, and about the about history, collective history, about American history, and Mexican history, and I'm in the process of kind of discovering myself, learning who I am, and trying to understand what Judaism is, trying to understand what Islam is. I've already been confronted with the nature of Christianity, which is flawed and baseless mythology, essentially because everything that is being done to me and everything that has happened to me basically reasserts the idea that if in fact this Davidic king David ever at all existed, that he's in fact protected to the point where they are not capable of martyring him and crucifying him in any way, whether it's to benefit from it mystically or magically or otherwise. And I'm essentially harassed by members of this thing called the Roman Catholic Church and Christian denominations associated with Christian Catholic Church. And essentially, it is a religious system that's been purported at the very least since sometime in the mid 18th century. As far as I know, my father was always familiar with Christianity, and my grandfather was to one degree or another always familiar with Christianity, but I don't personally have any proof that Christianity, Judaism, and Islam existed prior to the 18th century. I also don't have any proof that the royal families that purport themselves as the European aristocratic royal families existed before the 18th century, and it's actually become, to one degree or another, apparent to me now that the purported established royal families aren't at all who they say they are. I exist in a really weird, strange situation. It seems like every body of government that is established in the world is capable of breaking the law and getting away with it, and is in fact doing so. But there seems to be some level of visuals from some agency or some body of people that restrains them to one degree or another. And I know for a fact I'm on the verge of death because of this device that I've had illegally implanted in my head and that I've had my whole life. I used crystal meth and heroin, obnoxious amounts of crystal meth and heroin ever since I was about 18. And I've injected them ever since I was about 20. And it's a possibility that the crystal meth that I was buying from government agents for the sole purpose of burning my heart out and my brain. And they did that with the intention of making it impossible for me to remove the device, so that I wasn't capable of seeing who it is that was harassing me, and so that they could monitor my observations and my thoughts. and just about everything that I think, say, and do. But the device has been keeping me alive because there was like one occasion that I'm completely certain I should have gone into cardiac arrest, and the device has been keeping my consciousness alive, and to one degree or another, as far as I can tell, my body alive. I was engineered with a weak circulatory system for the intention of removing my feet, but my feet have been responsive because of the device that's implanted in my head, and I'm also diabetic. I need insulin shots, but I regularly consume sugar. I don't have to take insulin shots because of the device that's in my head. But the other drawback is that because I'm at war with the chief conspiracy in every established system of government, they can use a device to inhibit my muscular development, which makes it impossible for me to defend myself against lower level cops and other criminals. I spend hours in the gym, and I only get minimal results, and I'm only ever working at I'm only ever working at half my workout capacity, or maybe even less than half of my workout capacity. My father was a Michigan State football player, so I'm tall and I'm capable of being robust. And he was also diabetic, obviously. I have diabetes on my father's side and diabetes on my grandmother's side. I was engineered, so even though I have diabetes characteristics from both genetic pools, there are also like some aspects of me that were deliberately created and not just produced through overlaying genetic material. So I'm 34 years old. I turned 34 this year. There's some tie to my existence and the Christian religion and the Jewish religion and the Islamic religion and the presence of Arabs in the territories that are misnomered the American territories. According to purported history, they were called the American territories because of an explorer called Amerigo, which I'm not really sure is the true story, although I don't understand what else they could have called it or who they named it after. Supposedly an Italian explorer, and there's some sort of connection between the Italian country and the Italian people and the Roman Catholic Church, which seems predominantly, purportedly, to be a Greek church, but it is a Greek Arab church. Up until about 5-6 years ago, I had no idea it was Arab. Up until about a year ago, I didn't really understand or know that I was Asian. And up until about a year ago, I didn't know that there was a chance that I might have Indian blood from India in me. I might not. I'm not really sure. I'm still not entirely certain where I come from. There's a chance I might be a completely synthetic gene pool that was created for the sole purpose of fulfilling some sort of obligation or fulfilling some sort of event that was intended by these religious conspiracies and maybe some sort of government conspiracy. Nothing that I really know about our history as a group of people and as a global history is completely true, although there might be some things, messages in our history. And I know that there's a chance I might have Greek or some sort of synthetic Greek genes in my ancestry. I look at myself and I guess to one degree or another, I appear relatively Arab Mediterranean, which is why it's, I guess, kind of curious to people that I was completely ignorant about my genealogical ancestry. I've known my whole life that I was German and Mexican, and that's all I ever had in my head. And then I found out that I'm part Arab, and then I might also be Indian Arab, like Saudi Arabian and India from India. And the strangest thing that's like really happened, I've had my consciousness inhibited my whole life. As a kid growing up, I went to a Catholic school, and in Catholic school, I deliberately had my mathematical ability assaulted, obviously by someone tied to the Roman Catholic Church. I've been, in some way, shape, or form, led to believe that I am Jewish. I'm not entirely certain. I didn't know I was Arab, so if I turned out to be Jewish, it really wouldn't be that surprising. Um, uh, I don't have any real idea as to why these people would be so interested in me, but there is this momentum to an event that they have laid the groundwork for and that they have in some way, shape, or form put me at the center of. Initially, what it looks like is that somebody attempted to validate the Revelations prophecy in the Christian Catholic Bible and used me at the center of this thing because they couldn't get their hands on King David, which makes me some sort of decoy or some sort of stand-in for King David. And there's actually a song that alludes to this. It's like a song that was made in America, and it was this song by some, I can't remember what his name is, but it's like Miss American Pie. And it's there's this one line that alludes to it, and I think alludes to me. I mean, I don't want to be so self-absorbed or egotistical, but it's the jester stole his thorny crown, which means that King David might be somewhere, and all the assault that they intended to impose on him, they're in fact imposing on me. But this song was obviously written before I was born. I was born in 1989. The song came out sometime in the 70s or 60s, which means it was a planned thing, and they couldn't get their hands on King David. And what it looks like is like somebody intended to create a situation where somebody would hand over the bloodline of King David, if he in fact existed, so that they could perform and finalize the validation of the Revelations prophecy, if in fact King David exists. My Greek ancestry, I'm in this point in my life where, because Greeks purport homosexuality as being part of their culture and their history, I'm cold shouldering anybody having to do with Greeks or anything like that. In my head right now, my state today, I'll tote the Mediterranean because whether I'm synthetic or not, I appear, or to one degree or another, have some sort of genealogical connection to the people of the Mediterranean. And I'm still kind of foggy about exactly what the Mediterranean is, but I know it is the territories that are known as Israel. I know it's all the territories that surround like Egypt and Tunisia and all these other Arab countries, which like to one degree or another, I'm relatively proud to be Arab, although the way this situation is set up, it is set up specifically so that the natives and indigenous population that I also share ancestry with of these territories have lied and buried important things about their history, specifically, I feel like, from me. And it seems to be like the same about the Arab people, which I don't really know what the true history is about the Arab people, or if in fact there ever were Arabs. There's always a chance that these people have advanced technologies and genetic engineering technologies to the point where it is completely possible to create a whole new gene pool of people and just purport them to be somebody, teach them things, and say that this is their culture and their ancestry. And these people have the right level knowledge of psychology to damage people and manipulate people so that they would fall in line with something like that and feel like that is the completely rational thing to do. So there seems to be some connection between the development of religion and the development of narcotics. It sounds like what it is, it's somebody studied psychology, and because they studied psychology, they created religions around the same time that they genetically engineered drugs. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because there had to have been people that were getting married sometime before the 18th century. And I mean, like, people are kind of easily led into things. Our consciousnesses are all being assaulted. The current assault that the global population is suffering is that people are having their consciousness inhibited. They're being denied their right to study at educational systems that are capable of rivaling private educational systems. But it seems also now like private educations cannot compete with militarized private educations. They don't teach things like quantum mathematics, and they don't teach true history at any of the public and private education systems. So, I'm just like in this big mess, and I'm forced to deal with the bureaucracy of being in Canada, which when I came here, knew was a country that was established by, according to purported history, again, French fur traders. I now think maybe that the reason that France might have established Canada is because they knew what the Italians and the English were doing in the North American territories, which was fulfilling a prophecy having to do with some religion. And that's if, in fact, the Christian religion is older than the 1800s. I'm not entirely certain. The only thing that I know that I'm certain of is that to one degree or another, something has changed for me ever since I've been circumcised. And one of the things about the book and about the Jewish faith is if you're circumcised, then you're protected by God. That is like the common general theme of Judaism, and then practicing Judaism. There also seems to be some sort of connection between the circumcision and design theory and the evolution of man. So the circumcision alludes to the fact that we were created perfectly, because by being created perfectly and giving us a choice to work in cooperation with God, we were created perfectly so we could modify ourselves and continue to perfect and refine ourselves and work in cooperation with God. So I don't know how old these practices are, but the one thing that I do know is that ever since I've been circumcised, it's been important, and I have not masturbated. And it's like a really important thing, because it was actually a really big change for me, because I was shooting crystal meth and heroin, and I was doing things like masturbating in public restrooms. I was like masturbating in public restrooms in like Los Angeles and Santa Monica. And I was getting high on like crystal meth and heroin, and I was injecting most of the time. So if you remove the device from my head, I would fall over dead, because my heart would send the signals to my brain telling me that it can't continue anymore, and then my brain would send the signals to my heart saying, "Okay, you can clock out." And so this is strange. So I'm coming to realize that there's all these things about popular American culture which in some ways are extremely dispensable, but have a lot to do with who I am and where I come from. I grew up watching like television and reading books, and I also am not entirely certain. I grew up reading and writing and watching television, watching movies, and reading books. I used to really like the Goosebumps series. I used to sit down and read about 2-3 Goosebumps books a day when I was like in 4th grade. My father was an educator. He taught at Suva Intermediate for the last years of his life. I attended Suva Intermediate. I actually went to Catholic school, to St. Benedict's Catholic school, from 1st to 4th grade, specifically because my father wanted to send me there, because at all the public schools in California, they did away with phonetic reading. And he thought that phonetic reading was just so important, and so important to my capacity to be capable of reading and spelling and being interested in literacy, that he paid all this money for me to go to a private school, and it was a Catholic school. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have attended Catholic school. I would have just attended a public school. But doing away with the phonetic instruction was, in some way, shape, or form, has to have been debilitating to the general public's capacity to be literate and to read and to spell. So I said I had my mathematics ability inhibited and assaulted. I'm not really familiar with multiplication. I've struggled with long division. I've struggled. I never even got past algebra. I think I got like I think I passed algebra 1 and algebra 2, and I had to have like the algebra courses broken down into two different courses. I didn't graduate from high school. I went back and I got my adult school diploma, and and uh, and I'm just like, my whole life I've been assaulted by ghost agents and ghost soldiers that are loyal to the chief conspiracy and chief global government operations, specifically North American operations. I was told stories about how when I was a baby, that like one time I'd gone poop in my diaper, and then I stuck my hand into my diaper and I ate my own poop. Um, I remember I didn't know I was being assaulted the whole time, obviously. But there was this other time where like I remember being like at a little like play school at my preschool, and I ran and like I banged my head ridiculously hard and like on some sort of jungle gym. And I remember that like I remembered it because it was a soldier that was intentionally harming me for the sole purpose of gratifying somebody, or being disrespectful of me. Um, I know now that the ghost agents are also responsible for inhibiting people's capacity to be sexually pleasing and to be sexually pleased. I know that the ghost agents inhibit women's capacity to climax during normal copulation with another person. And I also know that they have the capacity to expedite men's climaxes, so that they, instead of being like 15 minutes or 20 minutes, they're only like about like 5 seconds or like maybe a minute. And they're doing this not just to me, but they're doing this to everybody. And the only way that you've got good sex stats, and the only way that you've got good fighting stats, and the only way that you've got good bodybuilding stats is if you sign up and work for a military operation associated with your government, or with whatever faction is um, running running those kinds of things in the area that you're subjected to. Excuse me. So so everything I know about like the world history is just like Europeans Europeans came from England, and apparently some were part German. Excuse me. Europeans came to these territories and they conquested them. And according to purported history, it was in search of religious freedom. But I'm like starting to find out that like some of those things might not be true. I don't ever remember in my past ever being familiar with crosses like on artifacts from the Civil War. I don't remember there being crosses on any of like any of the things that I remember from the Civil War. It had nothing at all to do with Christianity, as far as I know. And the Civil War was supposed to be the war for American, or no. So there was two wars. There was the American Revolution, where America fought against the English for what they said was independence. And then there was the Civil War, which was the war to fight to free Africans that were in the North American territories. And I'm not entirely certain that these things are true, although I've seen things in history books about like the Civil War and fighting for like blacks, equal rights for black people. And I was raised to not be racist against people because of the color of their skin. My father like believed in like treating people according to their behavior and their character, and not according to the color of their skin, or according to even at one point in time, not according to like their religion. But at this point in time, if religion is in fact a major factor, the one religion that is in fact subject to scrutiny because it is not only not valid but detrimental to social, physical, and mental well-being is the Christian Catholic faith, as well as the Hindu faith and the faith of Buddhism. And so my existence in some way ties to the resolution of these religions, as well as the reassertion of the validity of the Jewish and Islamic faiths. But I have no way of knowing if the Jewish and Islamic faiths are older than the 18th century, or if they were simply created for the sole purpose of drawing me into conflict. I don't really think that I would be embarrassed if Judaism and Islam were exposed as religions that were created during the 18th century, specifically because they have these aspects of them that just make them true, inherently true. And I guess from a certain perspective, the Jewish and Islamic faiths are just associated with a book of mythology to convey ideas and value systems that would help one to draw near to the designer of the true environment, whose apparent goal for all of us was that we evolve organically and behave less like animals and become intelligent, thinking, exploring life forms, and that we develop the capacity to truly tap into our environment and explore and continue to reproduce. And that's actually part of the Abrahamic covenant. The Abrahamic covenant is circumcise yourself and worship me, and I will protect you, and I will give you territory, and you will have tons of kids. And in fact, you will have so many kids that so many kids that they will number the same as the sands of the desert, or number the same as the stars in the sky. According to the purported Greek, I don't know if it's a true Abrahamic covenant. It's actually not the part that I was most concerned with, primarily because I've been assaulted by the North American soldiers, but there's also a promise that kings will come from you. But I guess the argument is that Abraham wasn't a real character. I don't really know. The name and the character Abraham has influenced English culture to one degree or another, and Spanish culture to one degree or another. The Catholic Church is one of the dominant forces in Spain. It's the dominant force in the Middle East, and it's the dominant force in Europe. There's some connection between Abraham and the word abuelos, which is Spanish for grandparents. There's a connection between a bunch of words in the English language and the name Abraham, and that's absent, abash, abolition, ablution, absolve, ability, able, Cain and Abel, ability. There's just a bunch of words. Almost every single word that begins with AB is in some way tied to Abraham. And there's also the purported Greek name for the Greek church name for God, which is Abba. There's a band called Abba. It's just it's strange because I'm coming to consciousness in some way, or becoming aware of things that are kind of going on around me. And some of the things that I've grown up with were actually things that were specifically directed at me. And it sounds a little psychotic, and it sounds a little unnerving, especially if you're dealing with cults that are purported to according to the purported Tanakh, that there's like cults of people that sacrifice children to like pagan gods, and cults of people that like kill people and eat them. And these things are like things that were passed down to people, and people might not have been very sound. I mean, I'm not entirely certain that gay is an old thing, which means there's a body and government of people that are trying to disguise the fact that homosexuality is something that's far more recent. I don't believe that it's as old as the Greeks say it is, and that it's a part of their history. I'm not entirely certain because I don't have access to true historical records. And and the other thing that's been made known to me is the other thing that is possible is time travel technology. And I know that I have indigenous native ancestry. I don't like calling it the Americas out of respect for my estranged tribes. I have a mother, or I had a mother, like a surrogate mother or something, who was born in the state of Mexico, and she is my mother genetically. But I don't know if they've switched her out on me my whole life because they have copies of her. And I don't know, they might have been switching copies of my father out on me as well. There's no way for me to be certain. The government, I know, to get to this point and to get me to this point, has assassinated my grandfather, my great grandfather, assassinated my grandmother, and killed my father. I've had two kids with two families that are in some way, shape, or form associated with a Christian Catholic cult. I don't know where those kids are. They've been taken from me, and I've been kept at a distance from them my whole life, for the sole purpose of antagonizing me and harming me psychologically or straining me in some way. It seems like now that the intention of this group or body of people is to turn me against the general population. I've never once in my life knew that there was some sort of conflict going on with African people and the indigenous populations of the Western Hemisphere. I know now that the Africans that have been placed in the Bahamas and placed in places like Brazil and Cuba are actually European spies and European slaves. And it makes it alarming because I was in some way, shape, or form conditioned to cater to the desires or the needs of the oppressed African minorities, which I'm still obviously to one degree or another concerned for, because one of my enemies is ignorance and obviously racism. But I'm put in this situation where I'm forced to deal with the fact that there's black people that are working against me, and they're specifically tied to the North American and possibly the French and English governments and the Spanish governments and maybe the Portuguese governments. I don't know. The other thing that's conflicting is that I obviously to one degree or another have Arab European ancestry, but I'm in favor of the indigenous genealogical pool that I am tied to, specifically because this whole time these European Arabs have been in these territories and they've been taking their oil, they've been taking their gold, they've been making members of their tribes gay, they've been sexually assaulting members of their tribe. They've essentially deprived them of the same privileges that other Europeans have, and these territories are in fact theirs. I honestly don't know what kind of relationship they've had with the Europeans this whole time. According to American history, they came and they were sort of cool. But then all of a sudden, some more Europeans came, and then they said, we want to buy your land off of you. And then it turned from, we want to buy your land off of you to, well, listen, you guys can't be here anymore. You guys have to go live over there. And that's essentially what happened in North America. I don't really know what happened in Canada. I guess Canada, most of the indigenous populations live on reservations too. But but in Mexico, it's also like oppression from the Spanish and oppression from the French as well. I guess Mexico's been dealing with socialism since like at least the 70s, I think. I know that one of the chief complaints is that they taught them socialism and that they made a bunch of people in Mexico gay. And they experimented in things like LSD and group sex, which they also experimented in North America. And I guess it must have been a popular English culture thing. I guess it was like the English that kind of popularized psychedelics and psychedelics drug use. And I guess it's become known to me that it is possible that religion was created around the same time that they developed psychedelic drugs, and that the psychedelic drugs were created for the sole purpose of controlling the masses and controlling people. And existence is kind of hard because it's hard to not be conditioned for things, especially with this device in your head. I mean, you wake up and what do you want to do? You want to do things that feel good. You don't want to like have to slave every day at the hands of somebody who doesn't like you, or that is trying to debilitate your capacity to excel or to be all that you are capable of being. But uh, but it's just strange. It's strange that, like, I mean, people are conditioned to buy certain kind of cars, certain kinds of clothing, certain kinds of lifestyles, certain kinds of food, and this is just insane because I grew up watching cartoons and television shows and movies that were in some way, shape, or form about me, or sort of about me, or alluded to me to one degree or another. And because of this device and because of how advanced technology is, it is always a possibility that I'm just interacting with a virtual environment and being conditioned for service or something. But it is also possible that I exist in a real environment and I am entirely uncertain, which means that nobody's ever going to see this recording, but it's quite possible that maybe someone will. And at the very least, there's some sort of giant organism that is tied to God consciousness that at the very least is to one degree or another aware of me. And I guess I've learned enough about. I mean, see, that's the other thing is like you think, oh, atoms, the world, like the universe is made up of atoms, and atoms are like subatomic particles, and they have nucleuses, which means they have like a neural center, right? Like they have the center which behaves like a brain. Well, if they have a neural center that behaves like a brain, then it is a particle that is like in some way, shape, or form conscious of itself, which explains things like magnetics and it explains things like electricity. Um, but I'm like, I guess it explains chemical reactions. I'm not entirely certain. Like, I'm still in the process of learning. And again, this has something to do with God. And so the thing that I've had imposed on me is supposed to be the status of a messenger of God. But somebody at my current state is that, like, oh, the messenger of God is something that comes from the Greeks and the Greek mythology. But the messenger of God status or character or motif is an Arab thing, and it is in no way really tied to Greek culture because it is Arab. The body of ideas and ethics and values that come with those mythologies is completely contradictory to everything that is Greek. Greeks purportedly through their mythologies and all those other things are like indulgent. They're apish, maybe like maybe not barbaric, but like ape, like indulgent. It's not really favorable, but they're also like extremely like hedonistic, extremely like material possession, status. Um, the other thing that like the Greeks dominate in associating themselves with is bodies of government, systems of government. I mean, the republic is actually a faulty form of government that we borrow from the Greek histories and Greek culture. And republics are supposed to be bodies of government that are officials that were elected by the people, but that's not something that really exists. It's in no way, shape, or form like, oh, we actually elected this guy and this guy's actually in charge. It's some sort of tyrannical, totalitarian government. And it seems to be more like all the people with the money and the technology are in charge. Where mass produced genetic genetically engineered slaves made for the sole purpose of like doing things like working jobs at Walmart, eating McDonald's, and wearing Levi jeans and wearing cologne and perfume that are promoted and produced in correlation with like movie stars and actors and actresses that are also engineered. It's only funny because all of these people seem to like glorify these people, like, oh, they're so pretty, oh, they're so like, beautiful, or oh, they're so handsome, and like those people are all just genetically engineered the same as you, and it makes it like a whole lot less special. um but People didn't look like me sometime back in the 20s. People didn't look like me prior to the 1800s, and our physical um, our physical appearance has just been greatly altered. And I'm not entirely certain, but I think our cerebral capacities have also been completely altered. There's an opportunity that our consciousness might be diminished in some way, and that this ruling authority imposes diminished consciousness upon everybody. Nobody has really any way of knowing if they have access to their full consciousness or not. I am trying to discover everything, and I'm trying to learn. I'm still inherently interested in God. I'm completely interested in studying science. I'd love to study chemistry. I would love to study quantum mathematics. I would love to study everything that there's to know about like true design theory. I'm really interested in making music and studying music. I've been interested in music my whole life. I'd really love to learn how to write my own poetry. That's like the other strange, bizarre thing. There isn't a single writer or artist that produces their own work by themselves. Even the ones that like go to like fancy art schools and fancy private schools to learn how to write poetry, none of them write them the things or draw their things themselves. They're all influenced by psychic ghost agents that write from behind them, and that draw from behind them, and that paint from behind them, which means all those impressive artists like Van Gogh and Salvador Dali and all those other people were all influenced, and that they are in fact not the artists. They are in fact not the people that have performed those things that were so impressive. And apparently I live in this world where everybody's known that except for me. And I'm still operating under the assumption that there's people out there that don't know these kinds of things and that don't know that these things are going on. And I'm also, because I've been raised by my father, and also raised with the belief that some of these superhero images and superhero ideas were created to kind of encourage me, that it is in some way, shape, or form like my duty to some global community to publicize everything that I know, and to get somebody's attention to help move the global community into a direction where everybody is happy and everybody's evolving organically, and everybody has similar technology, and that we are all working together as a global community to usher in a new era of understanding and human prowess. Because one of the things that I've been taught and conditioned is that monkeys are impressive. And I don't deny that. Like, I look at a monkey and like I'm like, man, I totally want to go hang out with those guys. And I look at these ghost agents that are lurking me, and I'm like, no, I don't think I want to hang out with those guys. And the implication is that the monkeys are better behaved than the soldiers that they have stationed on me. And they harass me a lot. And the other thing that I know is that monkeys don't practice sodomy, and they don't practice oral copulation. And that those impulses are not, in fact, primal ape. Maybe they're impulses from a dog. And somebody taught me that maybe the impulses that make man perform oral copulation on women and women oral copulation on men come from the memories of a dog that they derived from a dog that had the device implanted in its head. But those things are in fact pleasurable. I mean, I've gotten blowjobs, I've given blowjobs. There's one video that I recorded where I admitted that sodomy was extremely gratifying. I obviously don't feel that way anymore. I'm actually not in the position or the state to court women, and I'm not at all interested because of some of the abuse that I'm enduring at the hands of the communities that I am subject to. I'm not at all interested in having any more children, because even if I had children, I'd have no way to protect them from these people that keep kidnapping my children. I don't understand why a synthetic German Mexican slave would be so important to the point that somebody would kidnap their children. But I'm essentially just a modern day slave. And a lot of the things that I've done are rather embarrassing. I've just been through so much because of these people and because of these things. And my limited level of knowledge and my limited consciousness and my limited abilities make it really, really hard for me to just keep up with some of the most basic of things. I'm running out of money all the time. I don't have any community of people to rely on so that I can turn to for this or turn to for that. I'm forced to rely on the mail system and electronic mail system when I'm being harassed by the North American government, which has some sort of level of influence in Canada and with the global intelligence operations and global military operations, which make it impossible for me to get the attention of people at United Nations. And it makes it impossible for me to really complain to humanitarian rights organizations. And even if I did get my complaints through to humanitarian rights organizations, more than likely these people are just so dangerous that they wouldn't do anything to help me. Like, there was these times that I was locked up in Virginia Hospital, and I was trying to get the attention of like litigation offices, and everybody was just ignoring me. Nobody ever called me back. Nobody ever said, hey, you should email this guy, or hey, you should talk to this guy. And I just have no way of communicating with anybody, and I'm essentially just abused by government agencies. And I'm abused by government agencies because I'm the proof of engineering. I'm the proof that people are, in fact, fabricated for the sole purpose of fulfilling some directive or objective of some grand scheme tied to religion and tied to financial and political institutions. And I'm trying my best to get the attention of English government agencies and French government agencies, but it seems the only thing that I really seem to attract at the moment is abuse. And I'm not in the right state for what it is that I have to do. Like, as I said before, I'm already on the verge of death. My wrists are shot, my knees are bad, my back's like, I've got a slipped disc in my back, and just like I'm going to be like, in some point in time, put in a situation where I'm forced to defend myself against technologically outfitted soldiers that have the capacity to just like fight like 20 guys off at once. And like I'm just so shot out, and I'm just so messed up that I don't even know how anybody could expect me to follow through on this and be successful. But I guess there's like that God thing again, right? And so the only thing that like I really have going for me, other than like this corrupt Hebrew text and the corrupt Islamic text and the superhero like conditioning that like I've been given, is that like, you know, my father Thomas Eugene Brown, who was murdered with a heart attack while he was on the toilet. He wasn't really like defecating or anything. What it was is like, I'm pretty sure that he felt ill. He woke up sometime like around 3:00 in the morning, and he felt ill, and he didn't know what to do, and figured that maybe if he used the restroom he would feel better. And when he sat down on the toilet, they gave him like either a massive heart attack or some sort of stroke. And they did it with the intention of being disrespectful. And the thing that I could say about my father is he, at one point in time, was interested in service with the American military. He had a friend who went to the Vietnam War and died, and that turned him against the American military. This was also a controlled and fabricated identity, as far as I know. Um, but the general feeling was that America had no business being in Vietnam, and it had something to do with socialism. China, as far as I know, is a socialist country. Um, if in fact the ghost technology existed at that point in time, which it did, um, it essentially means that the North Americans were sending soldiers to Vietnam so that the Vietnamese could deliberately kill American soldiers. And it also means that the American soldiers went there to just kill also Vietnamese soldiers, which means that the Vietnamese and American governments are guilty of killing their own people. And I guess you could say that these things are also true of World War One and World War Two, and that the forces behind all the government agencies have been sending their own soldiers into battle with the sole intention of actually murdering them, not for them to fight for their country, not for them to fight for their kings, not for them to fight for nationalism, just with the sole intention of just killing them. um, so, so that's my story. I'm not going to record much else. I just wanted to touch base that this is where I am with my uncertainty, and I'm confronted with God, and I'm confronted with humanity. If humanity is rational, salvageable, and righteous, I'm in no way opposed to sticking my neck out for them, and I could die a happy man. Um, uh, I'm already dead, so I'm not gonna lie. It's not very difficult. It's not very difficult, full well knowing that I should have died 5 years ago. It doesn't embarrass me. Maybe it embarrasses me a little that it would be harder. It would be harder to be that brave and to say those things and to say them and mean them if I wasn't already dead. I don't know where my little girl is. I know there's clones of my daughter that are clones of my daughter and duplicates that look like her. Um, I am concerned for them. I'm in some way, shape, or form conditioned to be attached to them, but I'm also sincerely conditioned. I'm also sincerely interested in them and concerned for them. I know they do things like rape them, gang rape them. I know it is one of my fears that they've conditioned some of them to be practice ritual sacrifice and cannibalism. I believe that I've been fed human hamburger before. I've slept on carpet that's been saturated in people's urine. I've eaten tainted food. I've it's just like such like bullshit ass stuff. I think I've shot up somebody's urine before. I think I've probably drank urine out of beer that like you buy at a store before. Um, I think I've probably also shot up somebody's poop. I'm not sure. I've been influenced by psychics into eating another Native American woman's poop. I was influenced into eating dirty butt. I've been influenced into performing oral sex on men, on specifically in my youth when I was a kid, curious about sex, but I was isolated from women, and it made it easier for me to it made it easier for these people to influence me into like performing sexual acts, and I performed them with another like child my age. The only other experience I had with homosexuality after like my childhood age was when I was in high school, and it was some sort of similar, but it was also something that I know was influenced. I've never once in my life masturbated to homosexuality or homosexual porn, I should say, homosexual acts, yes, but never. I've never looked up pornographic material that was gay and like masturbated to it, and I don't know how important this is or how important it isn't, but nobody's ever ejaculated in my mouth. I've never ejaculated in another man's mouth, and I've never ejaculated in another man's anus. Um, and I guess those are sort of important because of the value system and the ethical system that come with Judaism and Islam. Um, it seems like there's this status that I've achieved by having this thing imposed on me it is something that was planned and coordinated. There's people that are eager to convince me that I couldn't possibly be a messenger of God. I'm inhibited from studying things that are Jewish, and inhibited from studying things that are Islamic, and even inhibited from studying things that have to do with our basic legal systems and legal structures and cases and things. And I really don't I really don't have all the information, and I'm not capable of I'm not really capable of progressing the way that I would like to and the way that I want to. But I'm most eager to be of service, because even if I'm anti-military and anti-government and anti-establishmentarian, I'm still extremely eager to earn my keep with the body of humans that exist here on planet Earth, and I'd be more than happy to help them solve some of their problems. And if the best that I can do for them is give them a little bit of leverage, then that's the best that I can do, and that's the best that I can offer. I'm not insulted by my sons and my daughters, but I do know that the women that they bred me with using my genetic material, not my real semen, but my genetic information, were actually meant to be insulting. I can't particularly say that I'm insulted in the sense that the person who imposed them on me wanted me to be insulted, but I'm not fond of either of their women and either of their families. And I in no way mean harm to my genetic offsprings wherever they are. I don't think I would. I don't think. I wish them well. Ethan Ray, Thomas Brown, and Autumn Aurora Brown, wherever they are. I wish I could do more for them. I've sent them packages since I've been here in Montreal. Because it's the first time I've ever had the capacity to work and to try to be a father. I would have been there more often, but the Roman Catholic Church and the North American governments have always done everything in their power to keep me away from my kids, probably because they're conditioning them and brainwashing them against me. I know there's cloned versions of my daughter that were dosed on LSD while they were raped so that they wouldn't remember anything. And I also know that the LSD brainwashing is extremely detrimental, because I've had an experience when I was high on marijuana, and they conditioned me with this experience that made me break up with my girlfriend at the time. And I understand how subtle it is and how detrimental it can be to a marriage or to a friendship. If you're there and you're stoned on some weed, and all of a sudden someone starts making you think things about your wife or make you think things about your husband, and all of a sudden you start feeling like, you know what, maybe you could do better, and like you made a mistake by marrying this person, and now you have kids, and now you've got to kind of tolerate them, but you're not really that happy. And it was those kinds of feelings that I had about this girlfriend, and it made me break up with her. And I can spot them now because I'm a little bit more familiar with psychic influence and technological influence, advanced technological influence. And the whole country of North America is smoking weed. And the whole country of North America is just, I don't even know, and I've got to go to war with these guys, and these guys have been brainwashed, and some of these guys think that homosexuality is totally okay. And some of these guys don't know that they're being insulted. But that's life. And I've got to do what I've got to do, and I'm trying my best to stand up for what's right. And it might mean my demise, and at this point in time, it doesn't really seem to be too important to anybody, but it's like kind of important. And I'm like not happy, but I'm just trying to follow through for whoever needs me to do whatever it is that they need me to do, and I'm going to try my best. I believe in Mexico. I sort of believe in the idea of a righteous Germany. I don't believe in the corrupt German state that exists, or the corrupt Mexican state, which seems to be an Arab European state, or maybe just a European state. But I believe in being indigenous, even with my beard. And I believe in being righteous, Arab, and like mystic. I would just hope that they all believe in those things too. And after that, let's just see what it is that happens. All right, bye.